Hello and welcome back to Games Embassy with the Ambassadors of Gaming. I'm one of your two hosts, Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And we have news about stuff. Mike, how are you today?
I'm doing well. It's a good day. Some good news.
Yeah, we've some good news, some good games, good feels. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into here with some updates. So Fallout 76 falls into Bethesda's common developer room trap. Now, this is funny. Fallout 76 players located and broke into a quote-unquote development room, which is a place where kind of like, I like to think of it as a debug mode where where things can be made in game, weapons, test how they work, develop them, work on them a little better. But we all know how buggy Bethesda games can be. So, of course, people got in just through normal means, nothing too special. And not only did they find programming for these weapons, they even found an NPC named Wooby. And it's interesting to point out this is the only NPC in the game. So, how does Bethesda deal with this? Hey, we should probably fix that room. Nope. Bethesda banned these players from Fallout 76 due to access to the insanely powerful items.
Oh, Bethesda. In other news, Microsoft has added quests to the US Game Pass users. This is interesting. Completing the quest will reward users with Microsoft rewards, points. Quests seem to be linked specifically to achievements and also to specific achievements within games within Game Pass. And the quest will change monthly. And the monetary rewards equate pretty closely to about $2 a month in the Microsoft Store. So the points could rack up quickly.
Yeah, not bad at all. Epic Games excuse my French. Epic Games has updated its store policies to include a refund policy. And this is kind of nice. Users can request a refund within 14 days of purchase in under 2 hours of being played, which I think that right there is really nice. Epic states that they're going to add a quote self-service option, meaning a way for users to get a refund easier than having to go through all the steps of contacting Epic.
Side note, also the exact same policy Steam has. They just copy and paste it. The Division 2 skips Steam, actually, for Epic Games Store. So Ubisoft has stated that they will be launching the game on PC on Uplay and the Epic Games Store. This is likely due to the revenue sharing model on Epic Store being 88% compared to Steam's 70% for developers. And actually, while researching, that was the case. Ubisoft wants to encourage that. However, none of their other games seem to be shifting.
We already covered this in a video before. I had a feeling that this Epic Games Store was gonna do big things, but we are going to move on to news now. This is once again, keep in mind this is a new format for us, so leave your opinions down in the comments below for us. So getting into news. Bungie and Activision split ways over Destiny, and I'm super excited about it. Bungie and Activision, in a joint statement, have declared that they are splitting ways on the development of Destiny. Activision stated it wanted to focus on its own IP, while Bungie feels it no longer needs the type of funding Activision usually provides. Bungie will retain the IP to Destiny and self-publish Destiny going forward, while they did state the current roadmap for Destiny should not be hindered. It's important to note that Activision has been put under investigation for suspected unlawful business practices, along with other types of fraud within their daily operations, according to MarketWatch. This is mostly to inform their shareholders, but it's still important. And so far, it's unrelated to Bungie and Activision's split.
So much information.
So much information. I want to go ahead and start out with Bungie and Activision splitting. Mike, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, all right. So after the quote disappointing sales of Destiny 2, kind of felt inevitable. They've been not fighting, but they've had disagreements about Destiny, the way they go about Destiny, monetizing Destiny.
since before Destiny 1 even released.
Exactly. They've had severe disagreements about the way they wanted to handle this game the entirety of the time it's existed. So it kind of seems inevitable. I thought, however, that it would last the 10 years of their contract. I didn't think that Activision would pull out early. And we know Activision. Activision likes to run things into the ground, especially if it thinks it can continue to make absorbent amounts of money off of it. And so one of the things I saw that I did think was a valid point is that Activision knows how to count money. And if Activision doesn't think something's going to be profitable or worthwhile, it won't even bother with it. That's just how they are. So, but I think the problem here is just that Destiny is very expensive to make, and they were disappointed in their profit margin, not in the profits themselves. So like Destiny will be fine. Bungie will be fine. They'll still be making money. They're just not going to make the ridiculous amount of money that Activision is used to. So it's very interesting because I was kind of thinking that when this eventually happened, Bungie was just going to be like, we're done with Destiny now. But apparently they really, really want to work on it still. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's very clear that Destiny 3 is going to be a thing, because Destiny 2 is already in its second year. Most of when Destiny 1 happened, they went for about 2.5 to 3 years in total with game content. So I assume Destiny 2 will probably follow the same thing. One of the things I've been reading about the communication between Bungie and Activision was that Activision had the model that they wanted. They wanted a really tight release schedule, and unfortunately, it caused a lot of issues. It caused Destiny 2 to be released early. It caused the first 2 DLC to be very tiny. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure Bungie would have taken longer to release them, but the base game may have been finished and had more to do, and kept people entertained in order for them to finish on what they thought should be a sizable expansion. It's no secret that Bungie and Activision have always disagreed on that point. So I'm really looking forward to the future of Destiny. I really want to see what Bungie will do when it's directly in control just from them. Also, last little note, apparently when this announcement was told at Bungie's studios in their headquarters, apparently people were popping bottles of champagne and screaming because people were so happy.
Right. Which was the same thing apparently that they did when they had freed themselves from Microsoft. When they had basically bought themselves back out. No, I agree with you.
Microsoft gave them free creative control.
I totally agree with you. I'm just saying the reaction was the same. They were equally as happy to be independent again when they had left Microsoft. That was all. Yeah, no, I don't think that they're one and the same at all. To the last note on this that I think is important, you mentioned the DLC. The DLC for Destiny was also handled by 2 Activision studios, High Moon, the people that were making the Transformers games, and it's not Raven. There's another one. I can't remember the name of the studio, but and so those 2 studios now don't have to work on that anymore. So I'm curious as to what those 2 studios will do, because High Moon hasn't done anything since Transformers. They worked on Call of Duty, and then they worked on Destiny. So I'll be interested to see where those 2 studios end up going. They might end up becoming the Battle Royale factory for Activision. Who knows? So let's go talk about some more disappointing news. Fox received backlash for announcing a new Alien game, Alien Blackout, within the Alien Isolation universe. Alien Blackout, a mobile game, was announced by Fox and D3 Games as a follow-up to Alien Isolation. As with Diablo Immortal, this did not go well with its fans at all.
I was going to say, I'm getting some Diablo vibes here.
It's almost like people don't learn from other people's mistakes. Shocker. D3 Go, the publisher for the mobile game, has however stated that there are other Alien games in the work, including a MMO shooter. Fox Next, the publisher of the actual Alien games, has stated that a traditional sequel to Isolation is not in the works. Important to note. This this isn't a huge thing, I know, to some people. Alien is one of those franchises that should have just been a hit out of the park in terms of video games, because it's just, you just take what the movie did and you make a game out of it. That's why Isolation works so well. That's why people love Isolation. I think Isolation is probably one of, if not the best survival horror game I've ever played. And so, I don't know. It's rough being an Alien fan, because there hasn't been a lot of good Alien stuff in general. And just being like, here's a mobile game. It's kind of like Isolation, but it's not Isolation. But it uses the character from Isolation. It's like, what? Why you do this?
Backing up a little bit, going back to Diablo, one of the reasons that Diablo was met with such harsh criticism was that they were dropping a lot of hints, making it seem like a Diablo 4 was really in the works. And then, people are expecting that, and mobile gaming and console gaming and PC gaming are all very different things. When I think of a mobile game, I don't think of something like Diablo. I just don't. And I feel like that's one of the reasons that people got so upset with Diablo when they revealed a mobile version of Diablo, was they were probably thinking cash grab, or just not thinking it's going to be what the Diablo they know. In this case, I have actually never played Alien, but I assume it might be something similar. People were expecting a sequel in the same way of Alien Isolation, and seeing that they revealed a mobile game just didn't exactly make people too happy.
Like, we had rumors of Blackout for a long time. I didn't include it in the show because it was just one of those like, oh, they filed a trademark. Whoop-de-doo, very exciting.
We tend not to just go over hey, this thing's trademarked, unless it's for like a console or something.
Blurb things that don't really matter. But Isolation ends on a cliffhanger. So it was originally designed to have a sequel. And if you don't know, the original Alien movies came out around the same time as Star Wars. So they came out in, the 80s and the 90s. And then, so that demographic generally is much older. We're in the youngest demographic of people that like Alien. The generation below us doesn't even like Alien. So in our generation, for the most part, doesn't prefer to play games on mobile. At least not like this. You know what I mean?
Not these kinds of games. I'm not saying that mobile gaming
Peggle and stuff.
Like, I played that on Xbox.
Yeah. Like games that are very simple but fun enough. You know what I mean? Like, work on mobile. But I don't know. Every time I see you take an established IP and you put it on mobile, I'm like, I know you're just trying to make money. Like, there's no real good reason to make a game for mobile like that, because it doesn't translate well. Like, you just can't, like, playing a shooter on mobile is terrible. Have you ever played a phone? Like, I play Fortnite sometimes on my phone and it's awful.
I was gonna say, people play Fortnite on their phones.
Yeah, and it's terrible. So I don't know what to say about that. So we'll have to see. Apparently there's more Alien games coming at some point. Hopefully E3 will show us something. If not, then I will just silently stew.
Okay, thanks. Verizon is messing around with a game streaming service. Currently in alpha testing, Verizon's game streaming service is currently running on an NVIDIA Shield TV, which I guess is kind of nice, and could soon be making its way to Android phones. According to The Verge, the service could allow us to play games like Far Cry 5, Battlefield, and Destiny 2 all on mobile. Interesting enough, the screenshots showcase also Red Dead 2, God of War, and Detroit Become Human. But some of these images are probably just placeholders. Currently, the service is said to have over 135 games.
Also, in streaming related news, Amazon reportedly wants to join in on the fun of streaming games. So according to the information, Amazon is currently speaking with game publishers about streaming options, and they do actually
just a heads up, the information is the name of the website. It's not just according to the information.
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
According to
the information.
The information.
Yeah, the site is the information.
Just sounded weird, so I just wanted to
No, the way I had tried to put inflection on the word, I was hoping it would point it out, but I'm glad you did. Job postings over at Amazon seem to confirm this. To quote it, quote, "This is a rare opportunity to take a technical leadership role to shape the foundation of an unannounced AAA games business," end quote. So that does sound kind of like it may be a streaming service. So we're back to the everybody wants to stream now.
People follow the money.
Go ahead.
I'm still not entirely supportive of when they say game streaming. Do they actually mean like not on a console? It's just what I need to know.
Game
like
streaming
hardware. It's not running natively. It's being
it's like everything. All the hardware aspects are done in data centers and then streamed to you. So it's not the same as
reliable.
I mean, I think maybe within the next 5 years we'll be there once we have fiber optic everywhere. But on the current infrastructure that we have, it's very difficult if you don't live in an area with fiber optic.
It's also, what about your Wi-Fi? I'm talking about just basic connection to wireless devices. I'm talking about like imagine trying to play that on your phone if your data plan runs out.
Right. I mean, that's a fair point too.
Or if you have Sprint in Ohio, because Sprint in Ohio is terrible.
Yeah, funny enough, Sprint in Ohio is terrible, but Sprint in general apparently is not that bad. That's why people have them. But I don't know enough to determine how this is going to go, because I think what'll end up happening more likely is until it gets sorted, we're probably going to end up with the Game Pass situation where it downloads certain aspects or enough of it to run natively before it runs streaming wise. But I haven't seen, for example, anything on EA's mobile streaming since that was announced. It's been out and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. So I don't know if it's bad, because that's the first one that really did it. As far as I know, EA's already got that going and up and running, but I haven't seen anything on it yet. So yeah, I don't know. Streaming is weird. You and I both live in an area where we have decent internet, but it still is not 100% reliable 100% of the time. So like, how do you deal with that? And then streaming also, if you look at Verizon's infrastructure, sure, Verizon has great internet on their phones, but then you have to remember how many people are going to be using that data on their towers. It's not like YouTube. Like, streaming a game and streaming YouTube are not one and the same thing. Like,
I agree.
There's way more information that has to go through for game streaming. So
back and forth.
Right. And so if you have 150 people game streaming in whatever, let's just say a mile radius of a tower, like, that's going to significantly impact people's service. So I don't know if even for cell data they're ready for that. They might be, because I think it's Verizon that's close to 5G. They're getting pretty close to 5G here in the States. And so I don't really know if that's going to be the thing that pushes them forward when they're finally like, hey, we have 5G. We have 5G phones. And also, look, you can stream games on our 5G infrastructure.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Maybe
that's the case where they're like, hey, it's very exclusive. It's only for whatever 5G or, blah, 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 blah. Maybe it's that scenario. But with Amazon doesn't seem to have any information specifically right now, because they want it to launch within the next year. So by, 2020. But there's no specific as to how they would go about doing that. Like, at least with Google and Verizon, PlayStation and Xbox, they all kind of have a receiver or a hub or something that can do it. Amazon, something as far as I know, doesn't yet. Like, they don't have like a TV or, whatever. Maybe they use Amazon Video. Maybe they use that app, and that's how they create another app. I don't know. So I don't know. Streaming is going to be weird. It's going to be fun when it actually works, but
Yeah, I've made my point. I think streaming is too young to be a legitimate, viable option to someone who really takes gaming seriously. I don't think we're at the place where it's good.
I would agree with you. I think for the most part we've seen that. PlayStation Now is not great. Apparently the Google Chrome one is pretty decent. It still has issues, but it's better than PlayStation Now. So I don't know. And we haven't seen anybody else's streaming yet. Those are the only two that do it right now, as far as I know. Besides like the Steam Link, but it's not the same thing. So we'll just have to wait and see. There's a lot that's going to happen within the next year. And when everybody comes out and they're all going for, the neck, and everybody wants you to have a subscription, we'll just have to see where, who has the best value.
Everyone wants you to have their subscription service.
Right. We were discussing this independently of games, but that's kind of the shift we've seen with TV. We're seeing the breakdown of cable and then the reassembly of cable packages just through the internet. It's the same thing as having
itself
channels.
Isn't worth it. If you look at the prices of doing a Hulu streaming service where Hulu gets new episodes right after they air.
Yeah, for the most part. And the ones that don't have it, you can just get like Fox has its own prescription or subscription where it's like a premium. And I don't think CW does. I think the CW is its own thing.
Well, they have CWC. They have a free service online that you can watch their episodes the day after they air, which I think is cool. But someone did a whole breakdown, and even having three services, three just basic cable services, whether it be Hulu, a premium Hulu and Amazon Prime Video, or Netflix, or the Fox premium, you said some of that doesn't even reach half of the price of just basic cable.
Yeah, most people I know that are buying cable have cable bills between $170 and like $220 a month. That's freaking insane.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's like before internet.
Right, that doesn't include your internet
Some of that is
or your phone line.
Internet.
Right, that's insane.
They're calling us the generation of killers because we're killing off businesses. Sorry, I don't want to pay an arm and a leg
your business
for
model sucks.
Yeah. Upgrade. But anyway, that is going to be all the news and updates for us today. Once again, keep in mind, this is a brand new setup for us. So let us know how you feel in the comments down below. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm Ambassador Chris.
And I'm Ambassador Michael.
And we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
We're gone.